Welcome to the DL, the podcast show that talks about everything to do with truck repair and diagnostics for the heavy truck and construction industry. I am your host, Tyler Robertson, CEO and founder of Diesel Laptops. Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of the DL. I am your host, Tyler Robertson, and we talk on this podcast about everything to do with heavy truck and equipment repair. Of course, at Diesel Laptops, we do a little bit with marine. We'll talk a little bit about that in this episode. But before I get going on introducing my guests here, what I really want to do, though, is to let everyone know this is our final episode of season 1. So this will be episode number 26, I believe. We started this several months back. It's been awesome. It's been great. However, summer's here, people take vacations, need a little bit of a break in here to get some things done, but we will be back in full force in August. So we'll definitely make sure you're aware of when that happens. So with all of that said, I'd like to introduce two people here from our data operations team. And it's people that you've probably never met before, but you've probably used the stuff they've created. So let me introduce two people to you first. So right to my left here, I have Lisa Gibson and I have Ray Link. So Ray, what's your title here, and maybe you should describe what your department actually does, like kind of on a high level here at Diesel Laptops.
So I'm the product manager for Diesel Laptops, so data operations. We create a lot of repair information in the form of diagnostic trouble codes, the troubleshooting instructions for the codes, remove and replace procedures, engine specs, maintenance intervals, torque specs, just anything you need to fix a truck, we create.
All right. And Lisa, what's your role here at Diesel Laptops?
I am the assistant manager and of data operations. And so basically my role is to make sure the whole department just runs cohesively. We have tremendously grown in our department, and we have some great employees, and I support them in everything that they do. It's
a lot to manage, right? And let's talk a little bit about, to put this in context for everybody, we are not like a software development company figuring out trucks. We're like, especially me and Ray, we're truck people trying to figure out how to help solve problems, right? So, and we each have a little bit of a different background that I think really works well. So Ray, what's your background with commercial trucks?
Okay,
where did you come from?
In 2010, I worked at a dealer, and it's where I met you. Yep. I was an account manager for a leasing company, the division for that dealer. Spent a few years doing that, and I come to find out I was kind of on the apology tour for a certain engine that was manufactured.
I'll say it was the Max Force engine.
It was the Max Force engine. Yeah. And, so I got thrown into a whirlwind of angry customers, right? Yeah. So anyway, I did that for a few years and then became a rental manager over a fleet of about 150 trucks. Yeah. And then you called me up and said, Ray, would you like to come work for me? And
so how long has it been now?
It's been a little bit over 3 years since I've been here. Okay.
So 3 years ago, that's when I had my first rental spot, and I was in the back of a photography studio, right? So do you remember it all coming in there the first time? Like you left this big, huge, multi-million-dollar organization to come work for me.
Insurance, everything. And
we didn't have any of that then, did we?
No. I went home and prayed about it, and I said, you know what? I believe in Tyler. You've always been a stand-up guy and trustworthy, and I said, I'm going to give it a shot. And I remember my first day I came in and people were wearing flip-flops and tank tops and I got my laptop and you're like, all right, set up right here. And it was actually beside a kitchen sink. So we came a long way.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, what did we have? Just a couple of part-time data
we had
people
maybe
helping out?
3 or 4 part-time. We had a couple freelancers that was doing some work. And you were like, here are the basics. This is the scope of what I want you to do. I trust you to get this done. And, within, I would say 5 or 6 months, we were up to over 30 employees in my department.
Yeah. So, I mean, where it started with was the problem I had, and this goes back to me before I even quit to do my own thing, was I was selling diagnostic tools to my own company I work for and on the side. And essentially people were not knowing how to fix codes. Yep. And I'm trying to work my regular job, right, which has nothing to do with Diesel diagnostic tools, and also support the customers I sold to. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make a program that has a database of every fault code that exists and we're going to tell everybody in plain English how to fix every code. And I remember talking to a couple of people, and they told me I was absolutely nuts and crazy to do it. There's too many codes. It can't be done, whatever. And it really, that first iteration didn't take us too terribly long to kind of break it all down like that, right? But I knew that was a big part because people... Even then, I didn't understand the impact of it then, but I definitely do now.
Right.
And it's just, you can't just hand someone a diagnostic tool and say, here you go.
Right.
They need other resources around them, and a big one is the repair information that you guys are creating. Mm-hmm. So, Lisa, were you working part-time for us then at that point?
Yes.
Is that?
Mm-hmm. Well, not at that point. I started in October 2017.
Okay.
Working part-time. And I did that until last year, June of 2019, and I came on full-time in this position. So I was working part-time in our auditing department, or on our auditing team.
Yeah.
And so...
and you had you don't come from the truck background though, right?
I don't.
So what's your background?
So my background is teaching.
Yeah.
So yes, kindergarten. I was a kindergarten assistant. I stayed home with my children when they were young. Was a kindergarten assistant for several years, and did this part-time, and I really enjoyed it. I was really good at it, and I enjoy people. I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy just meeting people, and so Ray brought me on when I told him I wanted to work full-time. Mm-hmm. Just get out of the school district.
Did you do you look back at it now and see any skill sets that are kind of similar being a teacher versus what you do today for us?
Oh, yes. I think that I am very organized, which I think a teaching background comes from that. I pay close attention to detail, which you have to in what we do every day. I work well with people. I can pretty much work with any personality type. And I think that that's been a huge benefit on our team. We have just managing mostly all women on our team.
Yeah.
Men.
It is, right? It's mainly...
It is.
Yeah.
It is. We have a few men, but mostly women. I think that I think that has helped me a lot, just forming those relationships and has helped tremendously.
And I brought her on for the reason that, as a product manager and ramping up the employees that we had, it was very hard to manage those employees to make sure they had what they needed, to make sure everything was going smoothly, to keep up with the reports, strategic planning, all of those things. And I just seen the skill set in Lisa that she would be good to bring on to help manage those team leaders and those employees so that I can focus more on the development of the future.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot off of his plate, with as far as our planning and stuff. I'm the one that runs all the numbers.
That's right.
Every single week.
Yep.
We've put a lot of different processes in place as far as knowing exactly how much our employees are producing and always trying to do better every single week and get those numbers, production numbers up, but cost numbers down. And so we've done a really good job.
As the CEO, that's awesome to hear you guys say things like that, because it wasn't that way like even a year and a half ago, right? Before it was just, let's just go throw more bodies at it and go faster.
That doesn't work. And here's a good stat. So, we were up to about 35 employees in-house. We probably had 15 outside freelancers. And, we came up with a good policy and procedure of holding people accountable for what they did. And we've narrowed it down now to about 18 employees. And within a year and a half, we are now tripling production from when we had 30 people.
Yeah, so half the employees, three times the production, right? I mean, that's, and I give JB a lot of credit. JB Ryan, our Vice President of Strategic Initiatives. I mean, I was the guy like, things are blowing and going, throw bodies at it, right? And let's just go. And then we got JB in here and he's like, hey, let's talk about some process mapping here a little bit. Let's talk about swim lanes and let's talk about, is there a better way to do this? And, in the meantime, as we're scaling up your department, you're building out step-by-step directions, torque specs, maintenance intervals, all these things. And then in the meantime, we said, hey, let's go create a wiring diagram division of our company, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we found out a truck parts division.
Right.
And all of a sudden all those guys are doing different things than you guys are doing. And just kind of got to be mass chaos there for a little bit. So it was tough.
Yep. I think it opened your mind up a little bit too, how all these things can just intertwine with one another. And that's how you've been since day one and everything's flowing.
And it's crazy. So we built this program to allow people to look up all their fault codes.
Right.
And we did that solely for the purpose to sell more tools.
Yep.
right?
Add value.
And then about 3 years ago, I said, hey guys, guess what? All this stuff and the hundreds of thousands of dollars we spent, we're going to go give it away for free. And we built truckfaultcodes.com.
I was scratching my head, but I understand it now.
Yeah. Because I mean, we spent so much money doing that.
Yes, we
and
did.
we had all our competitors like, oh, you can pay for that access. You can do those things. And I was like, you know what? I think there might be a better way to do this entire thing that we have going on. And, you know, you look at it now and do you know how many people have signed up for Truck Fault Codes? Have you happened to look lately?
Since we launched it, it's been over 25,000 to 30,000 people.
Yeah, and it still gains about 75 to 100 a day, and we do zero marketing for it.
Right.
And at the day, I'm like, you know what? I'd rather give away repair information because I didn't do this to make a bunch of money, right? I just did this because I wanted to help our industry and help people fix trucks a little bit quicker.
Well, that separates us from a lot of other competitors, right? I mean, everybody can sell a tool. But if you're giving somebody some repair information when they hook it up and find that fault code, you're going above and beyond our competitors.
So I don't know the exact number anymore. Maybe you guys do. Do you know how many fault codes are actually in the Truck Fault Codes side of it?
On the on-highway side?
On the on-highway
I would
side.
say there's over 75,000.
Yeah, I had about 80,000 kind of in my head that was there. So we first only built quick repair information, which was basically, here's a sentence or a couple paragraphs about the code, and then
a little bit of overview information, some possible causes leading the tech to maybe where that problem is.
Yep. So it wasn't step-by-step troubleshooting trees or any of that. But we did decide, was it 2 years ago we said we need to make those or less?
It's been about 2.5 years ago. Yeah.
Yep. So then we came back and said, well, Ray, now you got to do them all again. Right?
Yeah.
So do you want to explain what we had to go back through and redo?
Man. Yeah. So we had to pair up each code with a set of troubleshooting instructions. And, you know, we just hit a 50,000 diagnostic troubleshooting instructions.
Like the detailed step-by-step.
Detailed step-by-step, and that's a lot of work in that. Each code could have anywhere from 2 to 15 documents of repair information for that single code. So hitting that milestone of 50,000 repair instructions is very, very huge.
All right, so maybe Lisa, maybe you can walk us through a little bit. You know, there's you guys put it through kind of different departments inside your department, right? Can you kind of like, what are those departments called and what is the process?
We do. So we have 5 different teams. We have we have 2 different auditing teams. Our first auditing team, we have 5 people and 1 team leader. Each of our teams has a team leader. And our auditing one department, they are the ones that do the step-by-step troubleshooting information that goes directly straight to Truck Fault Codes. Our second auditing department, they do remove and replace procedures, torque specs, maintenance intervals. They have 1 team leader. We have 2 full-time people on that team. We have 2 technical editing teams. And then we have a data entry team, and they are focused on the off-highway section.
So, and you know, we have people that have no experience at all with trucks, right? And then we actually have some people that actually are diesel technicians helping write this stuff.
Do.
We have a mechanical engineer that used to work for an off-highway manufacturer who, you know, I think that manufacturer has rebranded on-highway engines that they use in their equipment. So he's very familiar with the publications and the instructions. So he's a really big help. We also have another individual who's in our technical writing and editing who has 30 plus years in the service industry for diesel engines. I think he's got the most in the company.
Yeah, it's always amazing. I always tell people, man, if this diesel laptop thing fails, man, I got diesel technicians, I got parts guys, I got
we can open up a shop.
We'll go figure out plan B if this thing never works out here. But things are going pretty smooth so far.
And I think one really cool thing is even our people who didn't have any experience, they have been so well trained that they are just fabulous.
Yeah, the one good thing here is that we have so many resources to reach out to. And I've always trained that to our employees. If you're not sure, do not guess. You've got 40 or 50 people you can call and ask. So, and they do that, and everybody is so receptive to that. So, you know, I just love the culture here, and everybody's willing to help. So,
I mean, just literally across the hall from this podcast room is Jeff who's been around here forever, service manager, warranty administrator. I've been around. There's a lot of people here that know that. So it's amazing how much knowledge is actually inside this building, and all we're trying to do is take all that knowledge out of our heads and put it into different ways to provide it to customers. And, you know, hopefully from there, there. It helps people fix trucks a little bit quicker. So I know truck is one thing, and I can confidently say we have every fault code that is known to man on commercial trucks since they went electronic to current, and even the new stuff, the S1E26 engines and then the new Cummins engines, they're all in there, right? So then we gave you guys the task of off-highway. Yeah. Because I never intended to be in the off-highway diagnostic business. 2.5 years ago, it was 0% of our revenue. Today, it is a much higher percentage of our revenue, and 4 of our top 5 customers are predominantly off-highway clients. So talk a little bit about how is off-highway fault codes different than on-highway fault codes?
So with on-highway, you've got a handful of modules, right? You got electronic control module and just a couple of...
Engine, ABS,
Exactly, transmission. But when you're talking about off-highway, there could be 10 to 15 per machine, right? And there's a lot of different subsystems on there. So we try to tackle and grasp all of that information to provide to our customers and install it on the kit so they can have it.
Yeah.
It's very huge.
So if you had to compare our off-highway fault code database versus our truck fault code database, which one's bigger?
Off-highway by 3 times.
Yeah. And how are we halfway done with that, you think, yet? Are we not even there yet?
We're probably a quarter of the way done, to be honest with you. I mean, it's just huge. It's vast. Yeah.
To put everyone's perspective, when you have an on-highway truck with a Cummins engine, whether it's a Freightliner, a Peterbilt, or International, it's the same fault codes. Right?
Yeah.
It's not quite that way on the off-highway world. And like you said, I was amazed how many more ECMs and how many more componentry they have on off-highway equipment. I always thought off-highway equipment was behind truck, but we've been totally proven wrong in that whole side of it. And it's not just fault codes you guys do as well. So you kind of talked about some of the other ones before. So Lisa, Ray, when we talk about maintenance intervals, what exactly are we talking about there for people? How would you describe that?
It's there's a truck or an off-highway piece of equipment can be operated differently. You might have a beverage hauler, right, that just stop and go through the city. So that machine and engine is going to operate a whole lot differently than somebody who's going across country who's over the road, right? So we provide maintenance intervals to customers so that they understand their application and know when to change their oil, know when to change their filter, and things like that. I think a lot of independent shops out there don't have that information, and sometimes they have to tell the customer, I'm sorry, I can't deal with you. You're going to have to go down to the dealer. Well, we're trying to help the independent shop owner basically right now with all this information. And the maintenance intervals really allow them to say, come on in. I can take care of you. I've got all this information here. I know, how much oil your truck needs. I know when to, replace the filters. And so that's what we're doing.
That's one of the big things I feel is missing in the independent truck repair side.
Yep.
And we're doing a webinar here in a couple of weeks. But part of it is these independent shops and even some dealerships, they never recommend to their customers what service they should be doing.
Exactly.
Because I think a lot of them don't even know, and there's no good centralized place for them to find that information. So I'm glad we're creating that.
Yep.
And then torque specs. So torque specs, the amazing thing to me is if you want to have... You have to go through a service manual, an OEM service manual, 3 inches thick, to go find all the different torque specs.
If you don't know how to use the search functionality, If you don't know how to use the search functionality on a computer or a PDF, and you've just got a big, hard manual, it's going to take you forever to find those torque specs. So we've got all of that into one document for each engine, each machine. And so they can go down to the subsection, find the title of what they're looking for, and find that torque spec, and it's very easy to use.
All right. So then we have our remove and replace instructions. Right. That's another service repair information you guys are making. Right. So how do we decide which remove and replace instructions to make?
We go with the major engines, the ones that are mostly used. And then we just, we've got a strategic plan to hit those first, and then we just move on down the chain. We just make sure we go through, and we want to make sure, and like I said, we've got some employees that have been in this industry forever. So they know what the technicians want to see. They want to cut out all that jargon and get to what it takes to take that part off or that module or that sensor and get it back on that engine. And that's what we're focusing on. We're trying to recreate that service manual so that it's really easy to read, easy to understand, and easy to access.
Yeah. So a big piece of tool repair information is having a picture every once in a while that describes the torque sequence or how something gets installed or removed.
Exactly right.
So how do we have artists here at Diesel Laptops? What are we doing there?
We have a graphics team. Pre-COVID-19, we had to, go a different route with that, but we're about to ramp that up here in a little bit, and we're redrawing all of those images and make it proprietary to us.
Well, and the cool thing, Lisa, about the team here that does data operations, how many actually work in the building?
Just Ray and myself.
And you guys really haven't been here much through the whole COVID thing.
And that's the unique thing about our department is that they all work so well together. We all talk every single day, pretty much. Before COVID-19, we had a monthly meeting with each individual team.
That's right.
We would come into the office and just brainstorm, look at our numbers, see what was going on, just keep in touch with everybody. And we're really like a small little family.
Yep.
We just all work really well together. I think our communication is top notch. And we've really made that a big goal of ours.
Yeah, so we were the only department in the beginning to have such a huge amount of people work from home, and everybody would say, how do you do that?
Yeah. And
pre-COVID came, and some departments had to work from home, and they're going, I'm finding out that most of my employees are more productive working from home. So
and that's happened. Yeah. So marketing, they've produced more content in the last couple months than I think they have for the last year. They've done a tremendous job. Exactly. Robert's smiling behind the camera back there. He's like, yes, we want to stay at home. Right? So we had that. And then the other one that's really done really, really well at home is Nate's department.
Right.
And we had a whole room set up for Nate to go filled up with 30 people, and it's dark.
It's dark, yeah. I seen Charlie and Stacy in there this morning trying to figure out how they can fit more tech support.
Yeah, so tech support's going to go in there now is what it sounds like. So, hindsight's always 20/20. I bought that 14 acres. Like, hey, let's go build some buildings. And now I'm like, well, maybe we don't need everybody here at the office anymore. And
I think when you give people that flexibility, I think that they don't feel as much pressure, as much stress. And we do have a lot of structure set up in our department. We have mandatory work days. Yeah. We have 2 days set out of the week where everybody has to be available and working at their computer so that we can get in touch with them.
Right.
And that's how we've kind of gotten to where communication is just so good within our department.
So the other hours, they can work crazy, Saturday night if they want to, or Sunday morning, or whatever it is.
With that, we have given them that option. But with that, we have found that generally everybody works Monday through Friday. There's really not any time that we've had to get in touch with employees and they're not working.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm sure
it's been great.
Yeah, I'm sure the employees have appreciated that with COVID and school being canceled.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
I don't know if you saw Lexington One came with their school announcements last night, and it's going to be a disaster, I think, for the school year. So the more we can do for employees to let them work from home and be flexible, I think the better off we are.
And you get a better employee that way.
Yeah, totally agree. So, and you're not the only Gibson, though, that works at Diesel Laptops, right? I'd be remiss if I didn't bring that up a little bit. So you want to talk about who else works here?
My oldest daughter, Austin, she works in the marketing department. And she's in charge of the renewals. Yeah. So she started in our department. She started on our auditing team part-time.
Yeah. While she's going to college, right?
Yeah. She was going to college while she was getting her marketing degree. And so when she did an internship for you here with Leah in the marketing department the summer before she graduated, and then when she graduated, she came on full-time, and she's been running with it. Loves it.
Left yet?
Cool.
Yep. And then our middle daughter, Sarah, she works in our department. She works on one of our auditing teams. She's part-time, graduating this summer from college a year early, and she'll probably come on full-time.
So you get to be not only a mom but a boss to your daughter. Is that the way that rolls?
Yes, but I'm probably more strict on her. In fact, she's probably going to kill me for saying this, but she did turn a report in late one time, and I gave her a verbal warning. I mean, she didn't talk to me for 3 days, but it is what it is. Hey,
that's work, right?
Hey, that's exactly right. We are fair across the board.
Yeah, I worked in family business growing up my whole life. Right, my family had a business, and obviously I got a lot of friends here. I mean, we know each other outside of work, and we hang out with you guys and stuff too. So it's always that weird line you got to draw in the sand, and I've been able to do it. I know sometimes it gets tough for other people. Like, hey, I'm not friend Tyler. All of a sudden, I'm boss Tyler, and we got to have a conversation here. So, but that's the way it rolls,
that's
right?
Exactly
so you take
right.
the good with the bad on all that.
That's exactly right.
So anyway, you guys are making all this beautiful content, and we're delivered to customers in multiple ways. Right. You want to talk a little bit about some of the ways that customers can actually view some of that information?
Right, yeah, we have a software program called Knowledge Base. It's installed on the kits when they're sold, depending on what they're wanting. Is it off-highway or on-highway? We have 2 for each. And that's easily accessible in the kits. Then we have a website called Truck Fault Codes that gives you the dirty repair information, the overview, and the troubleshooting information. We also have some wiring diagrams by Alan's team, who's done a really good job at that as well. Some good subscription prices, so please check out www.truckfaultcodes.com. We also have a free basic plan too, so you can sign up for that, check it out. And if you want some of the premium content, then choose one of the subscription plans. We also have DTC Solutions Off-Highway. That is also installed on the kits. You can actually buy it in a zip drive form, I believe.
Yeah, we'll do it digitally, and we'll send out USB drives, whatever
USB
people
drives.
prefer.
And that contains, like I said, over 1,700 modules for machines, subsystems, engines, you name it.
I mean, really, we're the only company that exists on this planet with repair information for fault codes, for off-highway.
Yeah, right. And we also have another website coming out here soon called Diesel Docs, and that's going to harbor the remove and replace procedures, maintenance intervals, torque specs, engine specs. I mean, we're trying to give the technician everything they need to hook up to the truck, find out what's going on, and be able to repair it. And in the end, be able to order that part, know what part they need.
Yep. Well, and Ray, I feel like I got to ask you about your son too, right? So how is he doing? He's in the military?
He's in the military. He actually worked for me too while he was in high school for about a year. And then he came home one day and he said, Dad, went to the Corps today. And,
did you sign up?
He went to the recruiter's office and he said, I'm going to sign up. And I'm like, all right, for the Marines? He said, yep. And I was one of the proudest days of my life, to be honest with you. So he's got 2 years in now. He's a corporal. He's stationed in Okinawa, Japan, and he's doing great.
So all I know is the last video I saw with him on Facebook and like Japanese girls coming up and boys, I guess, wanting his picture at the American Marine.
Yeah, typical 21-year-old guy, in a foreign country, I guess.
Yeah. So no, it sounds like an adventure, man. I'm really proud of him and proud of you guys and everything you guys done here at Diesel Laptops. So
I appreciate it.
My kids are young still, so we'll see how that goes as they go up. You know them too well, my kids. So we'll see how things go out. But overall, I just want to say more than anything, thank you guys for coming on the podcast, talking a little bit about what you do behind the scenes. That information you guys are creating is used by literally tens and tens of thousands of people across the world today. Right. I actually had a guy today, he's in Kuwait. He's a U.S. contractor, but he has one of our tools, and he sent me pictures of him using the diagnostic tool and using our repair information to fix some trucks. So
that's great.
It's amazing how far your stuff goes to really help people fix things, and that's really what it's about at Diesel Laptops.
Exactly.
So, all right, did I leave anything out? Anything I missed that we should have talked about on this episode?
I think you covered it all.
I got it all? All right.
Yeah.
So we'll call it an episode. Again, Ray and Lisa, thank you very much for being on here. You guys are on LinkedIn if people want to find you on there somewhere, right?
Yep.
So otherwise, they're around. But with that said, we'll call it an episode. And just to remind everyone, we're going to take about a month break, but we will be back. We got CEOs lined up. I got the CEO of Diggerland USA lined up. He's a theme park. They just opened a water park up in New Jersey. He'll be on here soon. I got Diesel Techs. I got some other CEOs of some companies, some vice presidents. You guys are going to love next season. Things are really ramping up. We're getting a ton of people trying to contact us. If you're interested in being on the show, just hit us up at thedl@diesellaptops.com. And remember, it's not just diagnostics, it's diagnostics done right.